So, what happens when the one person you trust with your entire career, your entire fortune, decides to make it their own? Well, we're about to dive into a legal battle where two NFL stars found out their agent might have been their biggest rival, sparking a lawsuit over millions of dollars and some seriously broken trust. Just imagine it for a second. You've reached the absolute peak of your career. You're making millions, and you hand it all over to one person to manage, your agent. Now, imagine finding out that that trust might have been a multi-million dollar mistake. That, right there, is the heart of the case we're digging into today. So, let's meet the key players. On one side, you've got NFL stars Isaac Hilliard and Fred Taylor, and on the other, their sports agent, William Black. But you have to understand, Black wasn't just negotiating their contracts on the field. He was their financial gatekeeper, managing pretty much everything for about 35 different pro athletes. He literally held the keys to their entire financial future. So, how did this whole relationship just completely fall apart? Well, the lawsuit really boils down to two major financial schemes, where the players allege their agent used their trust like his own personal piggy bank. And this right here, this is the foundation for the entire case. The court documents flat out describe Hilliard and Taylor as financially unsophisticated. They put their complete and total faith in Black, giving him what the complaint calls substantial, if not complete control over all their money. This absolute trust is, well, it's crucial for understanding everything that happened next. All right, scheme number one involved a company called BAOA. Black allegedly told the company his clients would promote their board game in return for free stock. The only problem? The players say they were never told about it and they never agreed to it. Then Black allegedly took the 2 million free shares he got in his clients' names, turned right around, and sold them back to those very same clients for over 1.2 million bucks, pocketing most of it for himself. Now, the second scheme, this one was even more intricate. Black advised his clients to invest in a car title loan company, promising them a pretty nice 1.67% monthly return. But here's the kicker. He allegedly had a secret side deal for a full 3% return. His own company would just skim the 1.33% difference. That's over 40% of the profits, all while telling his clients the investment was totally safe and that he had no personal financial stake in it whatsoever. And the scale of this was just massive. Following Black's advice, his clients, including Hilliard and Taylor, poured a staggering $8.4 million into these notes. Hilliard even liquidated his entire $1 million retirement portfolio to do it. So, with millions of dollars on the line, the players sued for breach of fiduciary duty, conversion, and conspiracy. But their agent, William Black, he had a really powerful legal defense up his sleeve, one that could get the entire case thrown out before it even got off the ground. You'd think so, wouldn't you? I mean, the facts seem pretty damning. But in the legal world, it is never that simple. The players were about to run headfirst into a legal doctrine known as the economic loss rule. So what on earth is this rule? Well, in simple terms, it's kind of like a legal barrier. It's designed to keep two worlds separate, contract law and tort law, which covers wrongful acts like negligence. The rule basically says if you have a contract and your only damage is lost money, you have to sue for breach of contract, not a tort. And this was the agent's perfect defense. Hey, we had a contract, so you can't sue me for anything else. And this is where the case turns into this fascinating legal detective story. The court had to figure out how to navigate two completely different interpretations of this rule, and each one would lead to a totally different result for the players. The court was basically facing two paths. On one side, you had the old way, from a federal case called interstate securities. It said if a contract exists, any tort claims for just financial loss are blocked, period. That would have killed the lawsuit right there. But on the other side, there was a more recent ruling from the Florida Supreme Court in a case called Moran Size. And that case argued the rule had been stretched way too far and it was never meant to shield professionals from betraying their sacred duty to a client. This quote right here was the turning point. The Florida Supreme Court basically put its foot down. It said, look, we created this rule for things like defective products, not to give a free pass to professionals who betray their clients. So the big question became, which precedent would the judge follow? The old, broad federal rule or this new, narrower state one? The judge made a really decisive call. He reasoned that with the Florida Supreme Court's very clear directive in Morancis, that older, stricter interpretation from the interstate securities case, well, it was basically outdated. He chose to follow the state's highest court. So, this brings us to the moment of truth for Hilliard and Taylor. After all the complex legal back and forth, what was the final decision on the agent's motion to dismiss the case? Denied. The judge flat out rejected the agent's attempt to throw the case out. The players had cleared the first and maybe the most difficult legal hurdle. Their lawsuit was officially moving forward. So what does this all mean? Well, the court officially ruled that the players' claims for breach of fiduciary duty and conspiracy could go ahead. They were not blocked by the economic loss rule. Now, the fight was far from over, but the game was officially on. This case really forces us to ask a fundamental question. A sports agent has a contract, sure, but they also have this profound duty of trust and loyalty. This ruling suggests that when that sacred duty is broken, the law might see it as something far more serious than just a simple broken contract. It really makes you wonder, where does business end and a much deeper betrayal begin?